Hi there guys, good morning, good afternoon and evening to all of you. Good now folks, this is Lucas from Whenever MTG and once again I bring you a deck tech. First things first, you know I live next to an avenue, so you might hear some car sounds from time to time, sorry about that. And I would like to give a shout out to my friend Miguel, who lent us this deck, for the deck tech. Thanks Miguel. And so today we're here with Gruul Ramp, Gruul Cascade, Gruul Midrange, Gruul Panza, Gruul Monsters. This deck has many names. We're sticking to Gruul Ramp this time. So this deck, what is it all about? What does this want to do? You want to ramp as much as you can early on, and then cast your big dudes. And some of them have Cascade, which means you're going to bring in more powerful dudes. Let's jump to the main deck, shall we? So here we have our main deck. Let's go. So here we have the main deck. Let's talk about it. We have 4 copies of Arbor Elf, 4 copies of Writhing Chrysalis, 4 copies of Eldrazi Repurposer, 4 copies of Boarding Party, only 3 copies of Annoyed Altisaur, 4 copies of Avenging Hunter, 2 copies of You Meet in a Tavern, 4 copies of Utopia Sprawl, 3 copies of Wild Growth, 3 copies of Generous Ent, 3 copies of Jowl Thief, 1 copy of Oliphaunt, I guess, and 4 copies of Malevolent Rumble. And on top of that, we have 17 lands, 15 being forests, just 1 mountain and 1 dual land mountain and forest at the same time. Sorry, my card's in Portuguese and I forget this card's name in English. But anyway, so what does this deck want to do? What's the goal here? At first you want to ramp as much as you can using your Arbor Elf to untap your forests, which you're gonna enchant with these. So either of these enchantments, you enchant a land and they add additional mana. So let's say if you put 2 of these in a single land, you tap for 3, untap it with the Arbor Elf, and ta-da, you have 6 mana. And you can do this as soon as turn 3, so it's pretty ridiculous. You can even do, Arbor Elf turn 1, and then turn 2, you enchant a land, tap it for 2, and tap it here. You have 4 mana, and Writhing Chrysalis right on turn 2. So this is somewhat of a regular play. It happens not every time, but sometimes. So you want to ramp. So for that you have the Elf and Enchantments, the Repurposer ramp, the Chrysalis ramp, the Jowl Thief ramp, and if you don't have any creatures, you might have copies of Malevolent Rumble, which you can play to create an Eldrazi token to ramp, and select 1 out of 4 cards off the top of your library. Of course, you can just get a permanent card, but besides this and this, everything else is a permanent card. So the deck's very straightforward. You try to ramp into your, Cascade creatures or into Avenging Hunter, or into Chrysalis, and you just take over the game. I think we don't need, much explanations. But here we have 2 copies of You Meet in a Tavern. You might not see that in every Gruul deck, but I think this is a great addition to the deck. My friend is running it, the owner of this deck. Again, a shout out to Miguel, he's a great guy. So what does this do? So it has 2 modes here. You choose one. First one, you look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can review any number of creature cards from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So most of the time you're gonna find, I don't know, man, at least 3 creatures with this. I've seen a player pulling 5 cards, pulling 5 creature cards, and yeah, that was game over, man. Yeah, the second mode is creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. And this is extremely relevant. Because, for 3 mana, we have Lead the Stampede in Pauper. But I think it's worth paying that extra mana and having access to both of these modes. And let me tell you why. So this deck also generates tokens right here, here, and here. So, sometimes we're looking at like 4 or 5 Eldrazi tokens and a bunch of, big creatures. You can pump all of them and, attack with everything. And that's probably lethal. So yeah, this is like a differential card we're running. But yeah, the list is very straightforward. You just ramp into your big creatures. But yeah, let's talk about the sideboard now. So here we have the sideboard for Gruul Ramp. We have 4 copies of Breathe Weapon, 4 copies of Deglamer, 3 Weather the Storm, 1 copy of Shinen of Life's Roar, 1 Gorilla Shaman, 1 Cast into the Fire, and 1 Relic of Progenitus. And yeah, here we have just some tokens that the deck produces, but yeah. So, yeah, the deck's, the sideboard is ready to deal with pretty much everything in the meta. Of course, you're gonna have to draw your cards. It's not just about including them in your deck, you have to draw them. So, one of the greatest foes for Gruul Ramp is decks with Gorilla Shaman and the Toxin Analysis. So, in other words, John Wildfire, Grixis Affinity, and Mardu Synthesizer. So those decks tend to prey on Gruul Ramp because they can just play the Goblin, the Toxin Analysis, and clear your board 1, 2, 3 times, or as many as they need to. Of course, they also have to draw the combination of cards, but since they run way too many, draw spells, that shouldn't be that hard. So in order to stop that, we have the Deglamer, which we can, buy time by messing with their lands. We have, the Shaman and the Cast into the Fire for the same purpose. And that's pretty much it. But we have Breathe Weapon to deal with aggressive decks, like Mono Red, or creature decks like Elves and Slivers. We have Weather the Storm to buy time, especially against Mono Red. We have Shinen of Life's Roar for the mirror matchup. There will be a moment where both of you have, way too many creatures in play and no one can attack because there's too many tokens or big creatures. So yeah, you just shove this into one of your Eldrazi tokens and turn everything sideways. We're not very concerned about a graveyard. So yeah, only 1 copy of Relic of Progenitus. Usually we're faster than the graveyard decks, but just 1 copy for safety. But yeah, let's talk about the good and bad matchups, shall we? Yeah, right now Gruul Ramp has fallen into maybe tier 2. I'd say that this deck is still tier 1, but right now it has way too many predators for it. So, it might be tricky playing it and, being happy at the same time. So the bad matchups, as I have said already, are Mardu Synthesizer, John Wildfire, and Grixis Affinity. And you know, against all of those decks, we're gonna have 4 Deglamers, 1 Cast into the Fire, and 1 Gorilla Shaman to try to even out the game by, you know, buying time and messing with their mana base. Other deck that might give you some headaches from time to time is Mono Red Kuldotha. They run a lot of small creatures, they're way faster than us, so all we have to do is add Breathe Weapon and Weather the Storm in order to, you know, either sweep their board and or gain time. If you're able to, you know, gain 9 or 12 life out of this, just play a bunch of creatures, you're going to stabilize and, you know, end up winning the game. Yeah, I mean, besides that, I don't think Gruul has any other bad matchups. I think all the other matchups are even or, you know, a good match for Gruul. Yeah, let's talk about the good matchups. So good matchups are those that, you know, of decks that don't interact with you. For instance, Slivers, Elves, Mono White doesn't interact a lot with you. And decks that, you know, they're just trying to build their game and try to smash you. Mono Green is one of them, I believe. So this deck tends to be, you know, tend to have some advantage against those because, you know, if you're allowed to ramp into your big creatures, you're just gonna run over them. So yeah, I think those are good matchups for Gruul. Also, Orzhov Blade, that's an auto win for you. Borrow Synthesizer, also, you know, a good matchup for you. Rakdos Madness, I would say that this is a favored matchup because we're usually faster than them. And their removal spells don't hit our creatures very well. Galvanic Blast deals 4, fine. But many of our creatures have 5 or more toughness, so it's hard for them to deal with. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that I have covered everything. No, sorry. Jund Glee or Golgari Glee. Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer. It's, you know. Oh no, sorry. Jund Glee or Golgari Glee. Yeah, man, I would say that that's almost an auto lose because you don't have that many interactions against them, which means they're allowed to combo off, and you know you won't have any time or tools to react to that. The best we can do is add 4 Deglamers and just hope to, you know, mess up their combo as soon as they try to combo. But yeah, I think your best chance is to just play your own game, ramp as fast as you can, deploy your creatures as fast as you can, and just keep attacking. Yeah. And for the mirror matchup, we have Shinen of Life's Roar. So yeah, I think I've covered everything now. If you have any questions, any doubts, any critics, please use the comment section for that. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I guess I'll see you next time. See ya!